Hello everyone, No Life here, and today I'm going to be going over some critical leaks that were found in the game's files last week with Maria's release, which allude to who our next family member coming to the game is going to be. Now, this is, of course is a leak, so it might not be true. Who knows, it might have been a red herring the devs put into the game to throw us off of the course on what the next update would be, but seeing as the track record for this game so far has always been pretty accurate with, again, just about every leak we've seen so far coming to the game one way or another. I'd say the only leak we found that hasn't been proven correct right now would be the leak someone said a while ago where mentioned there's going to be a cemetery map in the game. So, of course, as of what is today, June 18th, there has been no trace of the cemetery map in the game. We've got an abandoned mill instead of the cemetery, which is leaked before they even announced that map was coming. But for those of you who are ignorant to what I'm referring to, I'm going to be linking down quite a few things. But first and foremost, it's going to be a audio file showing off a few lines that pertain to a certain man with a coat hanger and a wig. So fans of the series would know that the only person that could possibly be referring to would be none other than Chop Top. So this is actually pretty ironic, as one of the videos I put out before they released the patch notes to the game, you could even call it two fixed patch notes, I alluded to whether we'll be getting Chop Top. And honestly, everything's starting to line up. And this is something I knew they'd end up possibly doing, as right now the 1 year anniversary for the game is going to be around August. And as soon as we just got a update in June, that gives a good 2 months to potentially put out at least one more family member, which would even out the list between family and victims. As right now we got 8 victims and 7 family members. Or who knows, maybe they're surprised to just make it a full release, giving us a survivor map and a family member. Now, one thing that does help us in the cause of potentially getting a new victim and family member next update is if they go with some of the ideas I have for Chop Top, I don't think it'd be too bad. It'd be too hard to code them into the game, to be honest. Now, there's also one thing that I would really love to see before they release Chop Top, and that's going to be the museum mode. As of Maria and Hans' release, there was another leak of the files that pertain to the museum mode, so I don't know if that means that that thing is done or almost done or what, but maybe we might see museum mode added to the game very soon. And I'd just like to mention that it'd be pretty sick if we finally got that museum mode, and much like Friday the 13th, they revealed who our next family member would be upon completion of it. Just imagine how cool it'd be if you complete some sort of puzzle in the museum mode or whatever, and then you just have like a chop top pop out of nowhere and just jump scare you, and then the museum mode ends. That would be a pretty crazy way to reveal who the next family member is. You have to admit, maybe they could even throw in who the next survivor could be in there. I love for them to show Maria's corpse in there. They're gonna have like behind the scenes trivia and all that in it, so it'd be pretty cool for them to mention stuff like that. And Leatherface, of course, having this mallet, maybe they can even show animation of what one of his kills might have been before they end up scrapping it. They would have had Kane Hodder done some mallet kill executions. Maybe some of those made it to hands. Maybe some of them will make it to hands. Who knows? But I'm trying not to go to too many tangents here. So let's get right back onto what I was going over with Chop Top here. So first of all, his attributes. I want his attributes to look very similar to Hitchhiker, as Hitchhiker is Chop Top's twin brother. So naturally, there's got to be some similarities between the two of them that kind of tie them together. So around the time Chop Top's release, I might want us to see a small buff to the family. I know that's crazy to say when you have Hands in the game currently, who's just making the games very family sided. Literally, all you have to do really do is be disciplined at your patrols and your gold, and you even need cook from my experiences. But one thing I've noticed is that victims all have a 125 attribute split. The only exceptions to this would be the Flores sisters and Danny, who all have 130 attributes. Whereas with the family, Leatherface, he has close to, if not above, 80 attribute points put into his stats. The family, theirs is usually below 70 something. And I think that they should bump all the family members' attributes up to 75. Now, Johnny, he is a rare instance where his attributes actually are a little above 75, so he might have to get a slight nerf to his harvesting, which will only be reducing about 1 point. My math is correct here. I believe he has 30-30 split between savagery and endurance, and then 16 in harvesting. So Hitchhiker, he's going to get a slight buff to his stats here. I'm going to keep his damage at 15 and then bump his endurance up to, I believe, 35, if I'm doing the math correct here. And then his harvesting is going to be just 25, so it's going to be a 3 point bump up. Now, if I were to go ahead and Cook, because I know some of you might mention, hey, what about Cook though? He is supposed to have higher harvesting hits, right? Well, I'd probably bump his harvesting a little higher. I wouldn't put it higher than Sissy's, but I put it like around Nancy's, where it's 30 something. And then the rest I have to dump into his endurance because Cook's too slow. But I feel like we're sidelining here. This is about Chop Talk, right? So let's get into Chop Top. Chop Top stats. I'm going to be putting his damage at 20. I want him to hit a little harder than his brother. It just feels appropriate. I'll go into a bit more details as to why this makes sense later on. But his endurance, I would put his endurance at about 30. I, of course, would want to still keep that trend of no family members, with the exception of Leatherface, having more than 75 attributes. So, of course, I have to balance it out somewhere. So, making Chop Top hit harder than Hitch, but have five less stamina, I think would balance that out. So I'll keep his harvesting at 25. Hitchhiker alludes to being the one that took care of Grandpa before his family members returned to assist with the job. And Chop Top has shown in the movie that he was quite maternal. One, being very distraught over Grandma's death, although she kind of was already dead. So there's a lot of questions to ask there with that, including the fact that his brother is dead, yet he can still be seen feeding him with a sippy straw at the final dinner scene there. And again, he just overall just comes across as someone that is, I guess it'd be paternal, huh? I think that's the fatherly name for being, caring for others or whatever. Um, so yeah, I think that'll kind of clue in why he makes sense having that much harvesting. And again, if no one's seen the final chase scene with Chop Top and Stretch, he was very persistent when chasing her. So I think it'd be very aligned for Chop Top to have rather high endurance. That considering he's TJK's twin, so again you have to connect them some way, and having high endurance would be that connecting point between the two of them. So now that we've gone over stats, we're going to be doing passives. Passives, naturally, he's going to be able to traverse gaps and crawl spaces like his brother and sister there. Um, Another passive I'll give him, and this is going to be actually mind breaking, and this is something a lot of people have been asking for since G's technical tests. And that's going to be Chop Top's going to have the ability to be able to go over barricades. So as of now, no one except victims can go over barricades. I don't want to change that and have Chop Top able to do that. I believe that Chop Top is not only crazy enough to do it, but with him having that military training of his during his stint at Vietnam, I don't see what's the difference between going over a barricade and crawling over barbed wire like they always show stereotypically in the movies. So I think that'll really set him apart from Hitchhiker, his ability to be able to go over crawl spaces and really make him scary, as him being able to go over barricades will be just something that victims are going to hate. It again is really going to spark some fear into their heart when they see that madman just flying over barricades behind them. But I think that just about covers what his passives would be. I don't believe I'm missing out on anything on that front. So we're going to go into his ability. So his ability is going to be a bit of a weird one. So stick with me here on this one. But I'd want his ability to be kind of a stun duration buff where when he activates his ability, which I have the animation of him taking out his coat hanger and then scratching his plate with it, he would then take, I'd say, base about 50% less stun duration from any stun in the game. That includes from a close encounter, stabs, or getting hit by a whatchamacallit, a door or hiding spot. But those are so rare. Let's be honest, no one's hitting you with a hiding spot. But moving on. Now, for those who are curious how that would work with close encounters, basically, when he activates his ability and he's put into a grapple, it'll kind of pause the timer of his ability, and then once he gets out of the close encounter, again, that's when it'll speed up. So the only part of it really be able to speed up will be when the survivor gains control of the character and you're kind of stunned. So that's when, it'll resume, and then you have a shorter duration. You'll be able to get straight back on him. Now, one thing I want to point out is that Hitchhiker has like the shortest stun in the game. I'd hope by the time they add Chop Top, they'd address the fact that why his stun is so long, and then you have like Nancy and Johnny who have to have the longest stuns by default in the game. That's not counting choose fight. I think they need to kind of put more things in the line and have the stun durations be all around the same time as Cook's. They can keep hands being pretty fast, as his stun duration is about the same time as Hitchhiker's. I'll tell you right now, if you try to open a crawl space in front of any of these two after you just beat them in a close encounter, they'll usually get a hit off you. Same thing when you try to go down a ladder in front of them after you beat them in a fight. They're going to still be able to hit you. So that's how fast their animations are. And like I said, I don't want everybody with hands being an exception since he's so big. He kind of should have that bit of a stun resistance. I want all their stuns to be a little more in line with each other. And of course, that also in tow make Chop Top bring more to the table, as that ability will feel a bit more impactful with him having shorter stun durations. Now, two levels of his tree are going to be dedicated to making that stun duration resistance a bit higher. So I probably put it up to 60 at level 1 and then 80 at level 2. The next side of his list is, of course, going to be a cooldown reduction. So there's going to be two cooldown reductions. I don't want to get the numbers of cooldown reductions, as I'm not entirely sure what those numbers would look like. But again, we then have his final side of his tree, which would be for him to be in his ability longer. So this is just kind of going to be more like Anna's, or really anybody with those kind of ability that are kind of like, I guess you'd say, active, and then they turn off after a certain amount of time. He again just have two of those. So now that we've gotten all his level 1 and 2 abilities all sorted out, we're going to get into his level 3 abilities. So his first one is going to be complete immunity to stuns. This is going to work simply like how it does now, where when you get stunned, you have around that 10-second immunity. His duration from his ability going from the, again, duration side, it probably put him around maybe 10 seconds tops. So I'd want to have that be a similar instance with his ability, or if, again, just for 10 seconds, he won't be able to be stunned. Now, one thing I'd want to point out is I'd want to have it so he has an animation to his ability, and while he's in his ability, he kind of just laughed like a madman. So this goes straight into what his next ability would be, which will have him able to instantly activate his ability. This will allow him to immediately, you know, pop his ability in front of a door when you have like a stun or someone that, let's be honest, a lot of stunnings like door slamming. He'd be able to just kind of completely avoid being stunned and just fly through that door and start wailing on him. He'd have the laughter going with him, so you would know he's in his building. You just randomly hear him laughing like a madman, so you won't have the BS instance where you don't know when he's ever his ability, and you're kind of getting yourself killed trying to run up in his face and grapple him or spin him and backstab him or whatever nonsense a victim might try to do, try to desperately stun him. We'd have his last ability, which will give him a speed boost while he is in his ability. This won't be too anything. Geez, this won't be anything too crazy. It just be like a 5% extra speed boost, as and actually combining this with a scout. If it was anything over 5, it would just feel ridiculous. So he'd still be able to catch up rather fast with, I'd say, his speed being comparable to Leatherface with Scout rather than overhead. I'm not sure how much faster Leatherface would get percentage wise with his overhead or rev while he's using Scout, but again, he just have similar speed to like Leatherface doing that. So I think it wouldn't be too overpowered, especially as he's not Leatherface and never hit as hard as him. But now that we've got his passives and his attributes as well as ability down, next we'll have perks. So perk wise, he'll have just about everything Hitchhiker does, with the exception of me probably removing rubber boots in favor of him having another unique perk, and that is going to be, I'm not sure exactly what you'd probably call this. Maybe you could call it something like Full Metal Jackets. Again, I'm pretty sure that's a army term or whatever. Um, or you could call it something like Slim Frame, something like that. It's basically going to be his unique version of Wireframe. originally when I was thinking these concepts, I was going to say he wouldn't have wireframe, but since Sissy gets it, Chop Top might as well get it too, right? So basically, with this unique perk, I'm going to call it Full Metal Jacket. I think that sounds cooler anyway. This perk will make it so Chop Top be able to climb ladders faster, as well as traverse barricades faster. So the logic for this would be in a movie during his final chase scene, he was seen climbing up the ladder right behind the main character Stretch very fast. So I think that'd be very in line for him to be able to climb up and down ladders very quickly. And then with barricades, we want to have something that increases speed of going over barricades, as much like going inside of a crawl space is only a one at a time thing. So the victim will always be able to get completely over the barricade before you be able to climb over it yourself. So having a perk that increases the speed of it, similarly to how fast going over crawl space is, I think that would make him scary, as you'll see him just kind of just basically fling himself over the barricade and be right behind you. Yeah, I think with barricades, it's a little harder for them to really kind of camp and constantly go over it, as you'll always be able to get at least one, if not two hits going over that barricade, even if they try to be cheeky and just go straight over it after you do. So you kind of be forced to run in most situations after he goes through it. So this will really just help him catch up, combined with Scout. And then with ladders, it's going to have a bit of a smaller number, much like going through a hole in a wall, whatever you call those things. Geesh. A gap, there we go. As there are some longer gaps that allow multiple people to go through it. So by having a lower number, avoid any situations where he climbed the ladder and clipped through him or whatever nonsense could happen because he has a faster climbing speed. Now, I also would give him blunt force trauma, much like Hands has, as I'm not sure if you'd want to give him a concussive effect by default, as I didn't mention this before actually, but I'd want his weapon to be the claw hammer he used to quote unquote kill. I think the guy's name was LG in the radio station in the movies. His other option could be his straight razor, but the only reason why I wouldn't want to do that is since he already has a straight razor, so maybe we could give him a unique kill with a straight razor, or have like with a lobby animation where he's kind of slitting his throat like he did at the end of the movie when he was about to have the final confrontation with Stretch. But the final option for his weapon could be his coat hanger. I don't know how that would work as a weapon, but if they want to just straight up have it be ever present in his kit, that's an option. So geesh. Blunt force trauma. We went over blunt force trauma. Yes. Another perk I want to have him would be something called head case. What this perk would do is it allow Chop Top to be stunned by his family members, and this would at higher levels reduce the stun time of the stun time from his family members. So that's just basically like, let's say Leatherface swung his saw at Chop Top, it'll put him in like a short stun. It'll be by default, I'd say like 50% reduced stun, and then as the level two would be like um 75, then level 3 just no stun at all. This would be a weird perk to have, yes, but it kind of allow you to be able to, let's say, have Leatherface stun you, and then you go into a chase with Leland. Now Leland can't barge him for 10 seconds because he has the immunity, and he'd just kind of really be able to have kind of a mini versus ability. You'd be able to have his family members help him trigger. You could also combine this with Activate It, which I'd want to have readily available in this tree, similar to what they do with Hands and Maria, where you are forced to get one or two perks before you even go into the first branching paths. So this kind of be perk combo that he'd always have available to him, so you kind of would always expect Chop Top to run again activated in head case here. So another perk that they can give to Chop Top, it could be either unique at first when he's released, or it can be given to others, whether it be immediately on release or later on down the line. But that'll be hysterical speed. What this would do is when Chop Top is at 15% stamina or less, he will get a 5, 10, and 15% speed boost. So these are values that could be changed. Obviously, maybe it might be a little too strong. Combine this with Scout. Maybe he might not even be able to get this with Scout at the same time. Regardless, I think that'd be an interesting perk that'll kind of help give him a little speed boost to catch up to a victim during a long chase, and who knows, maybe even get the last hit needed necessary to go ahead and take them out, especially if it could be combined with hysterical shrimp. Another one we could do is Switched on. What this would do is after a stun, Chop Top would get a speed boost. We could probably cap this off at just 5%. Maybe we could make it 10 tops, but regardless of the same levels activated, which would be about 20, 30, and 40 seconds. So again, these are all things that just really tie into his ability, which I don't think I really explained why I'd give him this ability, by the way. But basically, it's just because again during that final chase scene with Stretch, he was just like a tank. This guy was a madman. He was getting kneed in the crotch, hit in the head with lamps, and then shocked on the head with lamps. Just like really, just getting a good beating. But he was always right on her tail. So I really wanted him to feel that relentless. Like you could stun him all you want. He was always going to be after you. Um, Geesh. Trying to think. I guess that's kind of it for this little segment here. The only thing I really want to point out would be what his close encounter animation be. I think it just be something as simple as him grabbing a victim, and then if he's winning, he'll kind of get behind him and start just wailing on them. If it's the straight razor we go, he'll start carving up their back, similar to what he did with Stretch, which he was trying to start up the saw. If it's the hammer, he'll just get behind and start kind of bonking them on the back of their head. And if the victim wins the encounter, they'll just go and knee him in his crotch like Stretch did when he tried to grapple her. And his I'm not going to go into what executions would be as, I never did any execution with the other family members. Granted, I don't think I really did a dedicated video on what hands could possibly be as at the time of me recording stuff. I had so little information on him. It was more so leaks and stuff, and then we finally got concrete information. But geez, I think that just about covers it for the video. I don't think I really have anything else to really go over here. The last thing I'd really want to mention would be cosmetic wise. I love it if they were to give Chop Chop 3 outfits to start with, as they do it all the time with victims. I don't know why they don't do it at all with family members, but you'd of course have his iconic look with the vest and the bell bottoms and Converses with the bald, messed up head. We could then give him his radio station appearance where he has the wig and the glasses on, followed by his appearance where Leatherface messed up his wig, so he'll still have the glasses and he'll have the wig kind of draped around his neck there. I think those are some three must-have appearances. And going off of the voice lines here, he's even referred to as having the wig and whatnot. So I couldn't see them doing him with the wig on and stuff by default, as I feel like his wigless appearance is more iconic. But at the same time, his first appearance at the radio station was rather iconic too. So it's like they have to kind of just give all three. There's no way they don't. Maybe they might want to do it as just like all three or a cosmetic pack or something. I don't know, but that's just something I want to throw out there. Now they also would need to give us some cosmetic packs, if not all at once, then like within the coming weeks after for the family members. So Leatherface needs his suit with the rose in it. Cook needs his little jumpsuit, and as we recorded this video, they announced that Hitchhiker next week is going to be getting a new outfit called Claymore, which, by the way, Claymore usually would refer to a Claymore mine. So it's very interesting that Hitchhiker is getting a more militaristic looking outfit for him on the eve of his brother's potential release. His Claymore outfit also kind of is reminiscent to his appearance in TCM2. If you see the image I have on the screen here, he has that trench coat. So I don't know if they want to give Hitchhiker another outfit where he just straight up looks like Nubbin Sawyer in the movies here, just a little corpse looking with a trench coat. That'd be pretty cool if they did do something like that. It'd definitely pretty funny to see him looking like a corpse still saying his usual dialogue. But I think that's just about it here. I might end up going over who potentially could come with Chop Top next week for Victim, so stay tuned for that. But this is a huge thing to discuss. Such an iconic character being added to the game, and our first potential licensed character at that. So I definitely want to see some discussions here in the comments. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. And as always, guys, if you haven't already, get a life.